Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Sarah and this is my weekend review. This is going to be the last week that I will talk about a metric shit ton of manga. Probably for a while, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I love manga. I have for 20 years, but man, I have burnt myself out on it. We're gonna start at the top of the list with Sad Boy, and that's gonna be Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is an omnibus edition of the first 3 volumes of the manga. Now, this came out when I was really into anime and manga as a kid, but I never actually watched it. So, fun fact, when Sarah was traipsing about reading manga and watching anime, it was all illegally downloaded by a friend of mine, her older sister. She was my anime pimp. I don't know what you would call it. She was the girl that provided me the goods. So everything that I read and watched until I was a teen with my own job at the bookstore funneled through her for a long, long time. And this was just not on the menu. We watched a lot of Fushigi Yugi. That anime scarred me. Anyway, so I had totally missed this. I never watched it as an adult. I never read it when I was actually in the bookstore. I was more focused on the shonen, like the Bleach and Naruto and all that stuff as it was coming out. So I thought I would try this. And I'm gonna be honest, I know a lot of people love it, but boy, no one bothered to mention how absolutely sad and depressed Shinjin is in this. Shinji, he is so apathetic and so depressed and so deeply lost in the mire of just nothing. Now I'm sure maybe the anime gives him more personality and more life. Maybe my husband didn't seem to think that, but I would wish that to be the case. But boy, it was bad enough that I have the second omnibus over there checked out. I don't know if I will read it. I'm on the fence. I will say the art style is very of the era. I remember seeing art from this, and there was other series that did very similar art. Fushigi Yugi had a similar style. All My Goddess is the style that really comes to mind, and I absolutely love that retro style of artwork. So the art itself I absolutely ate up. I love mecha. I love giant aliens, so all of this stuff is in my wheelhouse, but his apathy and depression was just so deeply, like, I don't know, it really bothered me. So I don't know if I will be continuing that. We'll see. I'll report back next week if I've read any more. Also, to follow up disappointments with more disappointments, I read the 2nd and 3rd volumes of Asadora. Now, this volume was amazing. I love volume 2. I'm going to try, again, not to spoil it too much, but to quote my husband, it was kai juicy. Okay, that's bad. We finish out the story of Asa when she's little and the tsunami that takes over the town and stuff. And then it jumps forward in time to where she is older. She is a pilot with her guardians, and she does like banner flying through the sky, that sort of thing. And then volume 3 continues at that age. They get roped into a not government operation to investigate something big that's happening with the Tokyo Olympics coming up. Again, government, not government, wants to make sure nothing happens during the Olympics, and Asa and her guardian are pinned and tasked with investigating it, and it's how they get to that point. None of the actual investigation really starts until the last little bit. So it was a little dry. It was very filler. I will check out the next 2. I think there's 2 volumes still left at the library. I think it's on volume 5. And try the next 2, but I was a little disappointed in this one. I really enjoyed the 2nd volume, but the 3rd volume was kind of a dud. I read volume 4 of Delicious in Dungeon. This was a hit. This finished the first mini arc, which was getting back Was her name Marcel? No, Marcel is Fallon. Fallon. Marcel is the girl that's with them. Fallon was the girl eaten by the dragon. Let's finish that mini arc of getting back Fallon, and sets up the next mini arc, which is going to focus on Marcel, I think, and her use of forbidden magic. One thing I super appreciated in this volume was they defeat a dragon. I'm not going to specify what dragon, 'cause they defeat a dragon, and then they have to figure out how to cut the dragon up and get into the dragon. And that for me was very interesting and fun, because as a DM, there have been multiple dragons defeated, and multiple times that my players have been like, can we cut it up and take its goodies? And I have to figure that out. There was at least for one instance, there was an hour, I felt like an hour and a half long conversation on how thick the dragon hide is and how much you have to cut in to get to the stomach. Not to mention, one of my characters was obsessed with seeing its genitals. Don't ask for details, but that volume really looked into like how gross that would be and how dirty and how much you would have to cut and stuff. Super fascinating if you're into the weird stuff like that. So I highly recommend that series. Oh, I'm showing my nerd card. Anyway, next was Boys Run the Riot. I really loved this. This is about a transgender boy and his friend from school. They begin a fashion brand, and it's about how they start that up, how he comes out to his friend who is, he's only known him for like a week, but the guy just immediately is like, okay, you should have told me. It's kind of a refreshing take on that, especially in this culture. This was, and I'm going to correct myself from last week, it was translated from a non-binary transgender manga fan. It was translated by a non-binary transgender manga fan, Tiff Joshua. And there is an interview. The author in this is also transgender as well, and he wanted to write a story that featured a transgender boy because a lot of the manga, when he was reading manga at the time, didn't have that, and he wanted that representation, and that was really good, and I absolutely really loved that. I really loved the discussion of clothing and how dysphoria is really impacted by what you wear and how you wear it, as someone who struggles a lot with that. I really loved that discussion and everything in that. So this is a fantastic start to a series. I can't wait to read more of it, and I plan on picking the next. I think there's maybe only a few volumes out. I plan on picking up the next volumes from the library as soon as I can. So manga out of the way, the actual novels I finished this week. The first one that I finished was the first one I can't keep in track in order. I don't think it actually matters. I don't think you care. The first one we'll talk about is It Rides a Pale Horse. I did upload a short about this. This is a horror story. It came out at the beginning of October, and I did have an arc, so thanks to NetGalley and the publisher. And this is about Lark and his sister Betsy. And Betsy has a weird ability when she paints to compel or persuade the viewer to do things or to see things. And because that power is so strong, Lark has kept her at home in their hometown, and he is a sculptor, so he works from home, and she does forgeries and hides what they call turnings inside the forgery, so a detail here or there is wrong. At the beginning of the novel, Betsy gets kidnapped, and Lark is set with a task to complete a sculpture described by a madman to get her free. What he's not told is she is also working a task, and the two of them combined are going to invoke the god of the noose, and the story goes from there. It's incredibly gory. It's got a very high shock factor. It's not so much scary, but it is shocking. One thing I will also add is the first quarter of the book is very heavy on the art jargon and the art details. You may end up Googling things if you're not super into the art scene, or if you're one of those people that has to understand every single reference that's made. I went to school for art, so a lot of the stuff I already knew, or it was references I got. For me, it worked. I'm an art nerd. For some people, it might not work, so just keep that in mind. I did read a few reviews. Some people DNF'd it for that reason. So just keep that in mind going in. But on the whole, it was really good. There was one other place that I did not like. I almost DNF'd the book. The author seemed to, and I believe this is a man that wrote this, there was an event that happened with a mother and children, and he took the time to tell us repeatedly how we should feel based on how Lark felt, and he beat it into our brains that we should be sad about this, we should be sad about this, and it was unnecessarily, it was very much a tell not show. Be sad, be sad, be sad about this event, and that emphasis was absolutely unnecessary on what actually happened. Ultimately, Lark's feelings made no difference. He did the thing he needed to do to get the task done, and I don't even have the words, that constant, like, lingering on this feeling we should have, it just felt too much. Of course, I am very personally triggered by things that have to do with mothers and children, child death, parental death, that sort of thing, so it could have been me, but that is something to keep in mind as well, is that there is at least one situation where the emotions and everything feel very manufactured, feel very forced. So there you go. I have, and as always, if I mention that it's an arc, typically I keep full written reviews on Goodreads, Storygraph, and my personal blog, all of which should be linked down below, so you can always look through those as well. The other arc that I finished is the Essential Peter S. Beagle Volume 1, Lila and the Werewolf. This is a collection of his short stories. These range, I believe, anywhere from over the past 10 or 20 years. I read The Last Unicorn, like many a fantasy fan, when I was very young, and I have not read it since, and I have not read Peter S. Beagle since, and that was I regret that. I regret that. His range and the stories in this were absolutely fantastic. This collection as a whole has a cozy, whimsical feel. The writing is it has that classical flow to it that a lot of fantasy fans will recognize, that's just engaging and it's comforting to read. And the stories range from topics about just childhood magic of the mundane, to grief and grappling with loss and loneliness, and it was an absolutely incredible collection. I think there was only one story in it that I did not enjoy, so I gave the collection overall a 4-star. It's like any collection of short stories, you know, there's always going to be one or two that you don't like, even if you love the collection overall. So that's the case for this one. And I do plan on requesting the second volume as well, so hopefully I'll get a copy of that and have a review for that one up in a few weeks. That one also came from NetGalley and the publisher, so thanks to them, as usual. Then I read many thanks to Robin from Paperbacks and Planners, but also damn you. I read the first volume of Criminal Intentions. This is Season 1, Episode 1, The Cardigans. This was amazing. I am already trying to figure out where I'm going to fit the like 26 physical copies of this series on my bookshelf. I'm going to order the first probably 3 when I get paid again. I have the first one at my shopping cart on Amazon. This was so good. This was not at all what I expected. This is a series of short stories. They're not short stories, they're short novellas. They're anywhere from like 200 to like 250 pages about a set of detectives as they investigate murders in their city. This is like, think Law and Order, but make it queer and make it dark and moody, and it's just, oh, it's so good. It wasn't that kind of cheap dark and moody that you get a lot of times. It's very well handled, it's very respectfully handled, and I really loved the way the author represented complicated emotions, especially the detectives as they have to deal with grieving parents, as they have to, in this first volume, it's gay boys getting murdered on a college campus. They have to deal with the ramifications of that, and wow, it was so good, and I just don't know what I expected, but I was blown away. It was a 5-star read. I can't get over it. So it's her fault. She recommended it, so now I have to find the shelf space. But at least I'll have read them. The second book is on my December TBR. At minimum, I'm going to read the second book, if not 2 more next month. I read through series slowly because I do burn out quickly. I have classic ADHD brain. It's hard for me to focus, but it is going to be a series that I go through. However quickly or slowly, I am very excited. Finally, for things read, I'll mention briefly, I read the first 2 issues of the Star Wars High Republic comic book series. This is the phase 2, so this is takes place 450 years after the Fall of the Jedi arc of movies. The first volume, we get introduced to our Jedi Master and the apprentice that will be working on Jedha for the course of what seems like the next few issues. This first issue also ties in Path of Deceit to these comics, and that we see Sunshine Dobbs, who is in Path of Deceit. He was the one that pilots the Path of the Open Hands ship. He doesn't pilot it. He is the guy that finds the artifacts that they steal. So it ties that book into this. They are fantastic. I think you could jump in here. If you've not read any Star Wars currently, you could jump in with these 2 issues. They are out. I think the 3rd one comes out this month. And it would be a place where you could jump in and pick up the story really easily, just keeping in mind that it is taking place way past in the past of the current Star Wars like movie universe. Yoda is mentioned. I don't know how old that guy is. I mean, I do. He's like 900 years old, but it's kind of trippy to see Yoda mentioned several times. So there's that. It was very good. I'll give more concrete thoughts when there's a few more issues out, because these are so very short. But I really liked it. I like the setup. I like the new characters we're introduced to. So I'll be interested to see where it goes. As to what I'm currently reading, this video is all over the place. I apologize. As to what I'm currently reading, I am working on Convergence, which is the new Zoraida Cordova Star Wars book. This is taking place on Arona and Amarum. Hold on. Arum and Arona. Yes, I had it right. The 2 warring planets that are mentioned, and some of the other Star Wars books. They were mentioned in the Phase 1 books, and they've been mentioned in the Phase 2 stuff. It takes place there on those 2 warring planets. Our Jedi, our main character, I can't remember her name because it's been a few days since I've read any of it. Jela, she is a Jedi Knight with absolute faith in the Force and the Jedi Order, and a young man named Axel, who has a gambling problem, is sent by his mother. They are supposed to work together to bring peace or try to find a resolution to the 2 warring planets. So far, I'm enjoying it okay. I'm not very far. You can kind of see where my happy-go-lovely sleeve is. I have 2 library books that I'm going to try and read this weekend. I have The Modern Bestiary. This is by Joanna Bagneska. I'm sorry if I butchered that. This is, she takes the idea of a classical bestiary and has chosen animals that are a little kooky and crazy and looks at them through a modern lens. It's full of absolutely beautiful art. Let me see if I can find, yes, here is the Earth section. Absolutely stunning art, and each animal has a it's like a 1 to 2 page spread. So here's the Yeti crab. It's just a very short segment on each animal. I plan on reading, a few animals every day and read through. It's very popular at the library. I checked it out once and almost immediately had to take it back. So I plan on reading it as soon as possible, because I just got it from the library 2 days ago, yesterday. I also have Wake, The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts by Rebecca Hall. This is a graphic novel. Like the subtitle says, about the hidden history of women-led revolts. I don't know anything about this. I'm from the South. Our history education was garbage. Just assume what you think the South would teach us history, and you're probably right. So I'm trying to educate myself more slowly. This is part graphic novel, part memoir, and this was recommended by Rachel over, I think her channel name is Reads with Rachel. Rachel Reads. I'll link it down below, if not up in the cards. So I'm looking forward to reading this and seeing what this has. From what she said, a lot of the history, a lot of the records of these women-led revolts have been lost or buried or purposefully hidden, which is, it's a whole bundle of things. It's infuriating and sad and everything else, so I'm looking forward to reading that and learning more. On Kindle, I am currently reading The Daughters of Hizar. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, and I cannot remember the author's name. I'm very sorry. It's an ARC. I will put it on the screen. I'm only like 10% into this, so I don't have any concrete ideas yet, but I do like that it is a Egyptian-inspired fantasy. And I started last night in Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna McGuire. I love Shauna McGuire. I have read Shauna McGuire for years and years. This has possibly the most infuriating beginning to any Shauna McGuire book I've ever read. Huge trigger warnings for parental death from the view of a child as it happens, or as it happened. It was very upsetting. I have a lot of complex trauma and triggers. Again, I mentioned this earlier in the video with child death and parental death, abandonment, that sort of thing. And this just goes at it in the first like 5 pages. I felt like, I haven't finished the book, but as of right now, I feel like it was unnecessarily vivid and unnecessarily brutal. I think it was unnecessary. I think she could have gone about this another way. Shannon is a much better writer than this. So far I'm not happy with this one, which is a shame because I really liked Ancy from the last book. So I'll report back once I finish this. I'll probably finish it today or tomorrow. It's also got a big trigger warning. Shortly after that huge trigger I would give for parental death from a child's point of view, I would give a big trigger warning for grooming. And that, at least, was forewarned in the beginning of the book. No one mentioned the death. That was not good for me. So that's what I'm currently reading. I don't have anything new, really, to speak about that I can think of. I hope everyone had a great holiday. If you celebrated that, or if you were just dragged into family celebrations, I hope they were somewhat tolerable. And I guess that's it for me today, guys. I will talk to you again later. Like, comment, subscribe. I apologize if this video was all over the place, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.